Hello, everybody. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. My name is Stephen D. Kelley. This is Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio. It is Thursday, October 7th. Welcome to the show. The title of the show tonight is The Gospel of Thomas. Gospel of Thomas. Well, this is actually going to be a very important show. And first of all, I just want to thank the person that in my Telegram group that asked me to talk about this subject. He said that he was tired of explaining the significance of this text to people, naysayers. And the actual Gospel of Thomas, which we are going to talk about, is the words of Jesus. It's actual words of Jesus, or as we will learn, sayings of Jesus. It's actually a collection of things that Jesus said or was known to say, or perhaps may have said more than once. We're also going to have to show the controversy around the creation of this material, why it's controversial, the message. We're going to have to study and learn about Thomas the apostle, the man, his relationship to Jesus, a lot of the history, the life of Jesus, the nature of Jesus' life, possible death, crucifixion, etc., are still shrouded in mystery and hidden. And much of this, of course, is the result of texts such as this being declared heretical or non-canonical. So you're going to see that humans, be they apostles or saviors, mostly apostles, do human things. And these people still do these things today. So there are power structures. And one of the things that we're going to show is that the world was affected quite a bit by the apostles after Jesus, when they scattered to different places of the world. But it's impossible to really look at gospel, the Bible, the works of Matthew, Luke, James, John, etc., without looking at the work of Thomas and questioning why it's excluded. So myself, I am going to do my best to be unbiased. I don't consider myself biased in this matter. I'm a Catholic, so I was raised to believe certain things, and a lot of what we are going to talk about tonight goes completely against conventional Christian teaching, especially the teachings of the Catholic Church or the Church of St. Peter. And this is important. So we need to keep an open mind as we discuss all those things that people don't want to hear that are a very big part of this history and the source of this information. And we could talk about that all night, and we will not do that, but I will do my best to be somewhat comprehensive, and then we will get into the actual Gospel of Thomas, and I will read through it. It doesn't take that long, the sayings, and we will talk about them as I go. Some of them are more important to talk about, and some are, well, let's just say, lost on me or self-evident. So I think that talking about the actual meaning of the words in the Gospel of Thomas is important, and learning why it's controversial and why it has been hidden away and excluded. This is also extremely important. So all of these things are important. First of all, this manuscript, which they're calling a Coptic text, was found in 1945 in a city called Nag Hammadi in Egypt, which is on the west side of the Nile. Anyway, there's a lot of controversy about how it was found, but the popular belief that's being put out there is that at a certain period of time, the church declared but several documents heretical to have, non-canonical, meaning not a source directly attributed to the 12 apostles, but perhaps someone outside of that circle. So it's suggested that these documents were buried sometime in perhaps 650 AD, and that they were discovered by a peasant. The probable reality is that this peasant was grave robbing and dug up this jar in a grave. And in this jar was not just the Gospel of Thomas, but also several other documents, including works of Plato, I believe it was, etc. Eventually it was purchased, and eventually again it became property. It was repatriated, became property of Egypt, and they made these official documents of Egypt. What's important, though, is that Thomas is an actual apostle, the man that wrote this. And what's interesting about Thomas is they called him Didymos Judas Thomas, Didymos, Didymos Judas Thomas. Now, this is important because the meaning of these words, Didymos, even Judas. Why was Thomas known as Didymos? In the book of John, one of the Gospels of the New Testament, Thomas is described as Thomas, who is called Didymos. This is a redundancy since Thomas comes from the Aramaic word tioma, meaning twin in Hebrew, tiom, which in Greek is Didymos. Thomas is a twin. Whose twin is he? Who was his brother? Jesus. Apparently, and this is one of the many things that we're going to talk about tonight or discuss that goes against church doctrine, and that is that Jesus had brothers, not only Thomas, but James was also his brother. He was a twin. I find that intriguing since I'm a twin. He also had sisters who apparently there is absolutely no record of, no mention, which is typical. Another point that's important is that Thomas went to India after Jesus' death. But some people even suggest that it was Thomas that was crucified and that it was Jesus that went. Of course, Jesus being married to Mary Magdalene is also an issue that seems to be covered up and taboo. And yet, it's in the works of Thomas. You can see the animosity of the apostles to Mary Magdalene. And you can see Jesus becoming frustrated and annoyed with the jealousy, patriarchal nature of the apostles, with their respect for Mary Magdalene. Now, Thomas the apostle, he actually went to the city of Chennai, or Madras, India, and this is where he went to teach. And this is where he died, on a mountain there, where he was supposedly murdered by people with spears. But a church was built over his burial site, a national shrine of St. Thomas. It's also a minor basilica, Santhome Church, I believe it's called. This is in India. It's a major holy site for Christians. There's only 3 churches that are supposedly built over the bodies of apostles. One of them is this church in India. Another is, of course, St. Peter's Basilica. And James is buried in Spain. Of course, Peter is the one that gets most of the attention. Well, Thomas had a great influence on the people of India and Asia in a whole. And there are quite a few religions, you can say, that popped up as a result of this, or belief systems. One of them came out of Babylon during the time of the Persian control of Babylon. It's actually mentioned because the people who talk about the Gospel of Thomas negatively, well, let's just say, in the 4th and 5th centuries, the church said that the Gospel of Thomas was highly valued by Mani. Now, Mani, of course, is one of these founders of another religion. We'll talk about him basically. He's a prophet. Nobody talks about him. And his belief system has pretty much gone away. We'll talk about him briefly, but they go on to say that the Manichaeans also wrote a gospel according to Thomas, which, being tinctured with the fragrance of evangelic title, corrupts the souls of the simple sort. Let none read the gospel according to Thomas, for it is the work not of one of the 12 apostles, but one of the 3 wicked disciples of Manes. They list it in the list of heretical books. I guess we'll talk about Manny here really quick, so try to understand what it is that they don't like about this guy. Well, of course, he was very prominent in India, Afghanistan, and naturally the area of Babylon, Persia. His belief system was intended to be a progression of Christianity and Judaism. And Manny himself was the son of parents who were early Jewish Christians. So obviously there were many Jewish Christians, and they did have quite a bit of influence in the early church. And a lot of these people were in the area that we think of as Syria, modern Syria. Now, I suspect that this is another thing that is trying to be erased. They're also closely connected to Armenia, another group that's being wiped out and hidden. So we should mention also that some of these heretical, so-called heretical books that's sort of interesting is one of them is the Gospel of the Hebrews. This, of course, being a gospel from the Hebrew Christians. There's also the Gospel of St. Peter, which is probably real, but is considered heretical because there's belief that it is not actually written by Peter. One thing that's really extremely interesting when you try to look at the source of all of these writings and belief systems or sayings, a lot of these were wisdom sayings. You'll notice that when people try to authenticate what is canonical and what is not, they use patterns, because a lot of times you'll see that different writers like Matthew and Luke, Mark, will repeat things, will say things that are very similar. So they look at these as clues of authenticity. And one of the reasons why they look down on some of the writings of Thomas is that it doesn't follow some of these similarities, although, as you'll see when we actually read the Gospel of Thomas, many of the words are very common, such as the blind leading the blind. This is from the Gospel of Thomas. I personally believe that these are the words of Jesus, and I personally think that they are important. As far as the clues or the likelihood and evidence that Jesus could have not been crucified, that Jesus could have been married, that Jesus could have children, that all of these things could have happened, that Jesus could have had a twin brother named Thomas, that Jesus could have had another brother named James. These could all be possible. There's another source, which is amazing because it's called the Q source, or the Q document, or the Q gospel. There's those that argue that Q is the source for Mark, Matthew, and Luke. This hypothetical document called the Q is the source. It comes from the German word Quell, meaning source. And it's supposedly a hypothetical written collection of Jesus' sayings, or logia. It's part of the material found in Matthew and Luke, but not in the Gospel of Mark. And supposedly this was drawn from early oral gospel traditions. So a lot of people think that this Q thing is the actual source, which means that it was just a collection of these sayings, or logia. So this is what the Bible is: sayings of Jesus, words of Jesus, different ways of saying it, interspersed with different people's perspectives and personal experiences. I think that this is fascinating because of the use of Q in the popular conception or the popular narrative today. I could have called this show the Q Gospel, but I think that would have been pandering to the people that are still hooked on Trump. But either way, this is still very important. So let's not spend too much time on the source of these documents, how they were dug up out of a graveyard, perhaps. And I suspect that these weren't hidden for religious reasons, but were actually just buried with a corpse, because this is something they did with people back in these days. They would bury people with books, and this was someone's book collection, some prized collection of writings that they took to their grave with them. Let's dive right into the Gospel of Thomas. All right, now this, of course, was translated by someone, and I'll do my best to read it without making it unclear when I'm making my own interjection. These are the secret sayings of the living Jesus spoke, and which Didymus Judas Thomas wrote down. Number 1, and he said, quote, "Whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not experience death." Of course, I find this one extremely important, because this concept of death is something that I deal with personally with this whole can't be killed business. So I can understand that whoever finds the interpretations of these sayings will not experience death, because that's what we are going to do tonight. We are going to find the interpretation of these sayings. Number 2, Jesus said, quote, "Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over all." Again, this is very important, and it corresponds to the first one, because those of us, I personally take this one very personal, but I'm sure those of you out there that have been on a truth mission can feel the same way. But it's almost like breaking the matrix. Seek until you find. And when you find, you'll become troubled, you'll become shocked, you'll become woke, you'll become broke. And when he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, his brain will reel. But he will rule over all, because he will know what everyone else doesn't know. He will have that secret. That is the matrix. The first one to figure it out gets to tell everyone else. And he's the one that's going to control it, because he's the one that's going to decipher it for you. And that's exactly what I intend to do, believe it or not. That's what Occupy the Getty is, because I sought until I found, and I was astonished, and now I am troubled. And I want it to end, and this will cause the rule overall to change. Number 3, Jesus said, quote, "If those who lead you say to you, 'See, the kingdom is in the sky,' then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, 'It is in the sea,' then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you will not know yourselves, you dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty." Now, if this isn't profound, you have to realize all creation is the creator. There is nothing in creation that is not part of the creator. We are special. We are in the image of God. We do have creative God-like skills. We are not second rate. We are of God. We are the children of God. We are God. We have the power. We can manifest. That does not mean we are individuals. We are all the same thing, because we are all part of the same thing. Number 4, Jesus said, quote, "The man old in days will not hesitate to ask a small child 7 days old about the place of life, and he will live. For many who are first will become last, and they will become one and the same," unquote. This is one of the sayings that people question and debate. I really don't have any answers for you about this. I could speculate, but I think that at the very least, it has to do with the innocence of a child. A lot of reference is mentioned to a child 7 days old, 7 years old, because at this point they maintain a close connection to the source, the creator, and at the same time they are uncorrupt. So their spirit is strong, and they are closer to heaven than those of us that have become worldly. Number 5, Jesus said, quote, "Recognize what is in your sight, and that which is hidden from you will become plain to you. For there is nothing hidden which will not become manifest." I think our mission is illustrated really well by this. Because it's in front of our face, we can see it. There is so much that's hidden from us But once we point our brains in that direction, our ability to change it, even though it's hidden, will become reality. And that's exactly what we're doing. Number 6, his disciples questioned him and said to him, "Do you want us to fast? How shall we pray? Shall we give alms? What diet shall we observe?" Jesus said, "Do not tell lies, and do not do what you hate. For all things are plain in the sight of heaven. For nothing hidden will not become manifest, and nothing covered will remain without being uncovered." So in other words, he's going back to what's important, uncovering the truth, not worrying about stupid diet observances. Don't do what you hate. Do what makes you calm. That which makes you calm is good. Number 7. Jesus said, "Blessed is the lion which becomes man when consumed by man, and cursed is the man whom the lion consumes, and the lion becomes man." This, of course, is somewhat cryptic, but I think that at the very least, it's a reference to the levels of density and how the higher levels consume the lower levels and not the other way around. It's like going backwards. Last thing you want to do. Consuming a lower level density is actually elevating it. This is one of the things that we do when we bless our food. Number 8. And he said, "The man is like a wise fisherman who cast his net into the sea and drew it up from the sea full of small fish. Among them, the wise fisherman found a fine, large fish. He threw all the small fish back into the sea and chose the large fish without difficulty. Whoever has ears, let him hear." In other words, figure it out. Find the meaning. Number 9, Jesus said, "Now the sower went out and took a handful of seeds and scattered them. Some fell on the road. The birds came and gathered them up. Others fell on the rock, which did not take root in the soil and did not produce ears. And others fell on thorns. They choked the seeds, and worms ate them. And others fell on good soil, and it produced good fruit, and it bore 60%, 60 per measure, and 120 per measure." So in other words, the amount of seed that actually took root and produced fruit far outweighed the amount that was wasted. And obviously, this is what we do when we go out and we try to spread truth. Most of it is going to fall on deaf ears, and if anything, they're going to throw it back at you and ridicule you and call you stupid things. But a small portion of it, a fraction of it, will go to where it will blossom, and it will produce far more than was expended. So our lesson is those of us that are listening, they're hearing the truth, that are actually trying to spread it, we're the fertile soil. And we're going to produce results far greater than ourselves. And that's why we're so important. Number 10, Jesus said, "I have cast fire upon the world, and see, I am guarding it until it blazes." That's exactly what we are doing with Occupy the Getty. We are destroying the entire structure, and we are going to make sure it is consumed and gone away completely, and there is no stopping it, because that is what happens when enough of us sparks start small flames that turn into a raging inferno. It gets so big they can't put it out. And Occupy the Getty cannot be stopped, and this is what Jesus wants. We're going to burn it away and start over. Jesus said, "This heaven will pass away, and the one above it will pass away. The dead are not alive, and the living will not die. In the days when you consumed what is dead, you made it what is alive. When you come to dwell in the light, what will you do? On the day when you were one, you became two. But when you became two, what will you do?" This is again, very cryptic. But in a way, it helps to illustrate something that I myself am extremely frustrated with, and that is When we get to where we are going, will you be ready? Are you going to do what needs to be done? Will you try to do the same thing? Will you be part of this? Will you have shed your bad ways, your savageness? This eating of the dead is another reference to the densities and the consuming of the flesh of the lower densities and bringing it up, kind of like the aliens do with us, but hey. But again, when you come to dwell in the light, what will you do? This reference to 1 and 2. This could also mean that you have to realize that you're not just an individual. Everybody is the same person. This is what is the basis of unconditional love. This is a very important thing that people need to come to realize. And could be a cryptic way of saying that. Number 12, the disciples said to Jesus, "We know that you will depart from us. Who is to be our leader?" Jesus said to them, "Wherever you are to go to James the righteous, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being." James is his brother. Number 13, Jesus said to his disciples, quote, "Compare me to someone and tell me who am I like?" Simon Peter said to him, "You are like a righteous angel." Matthew said to him, "You are like a wise philosopher." Thomas said to him, "Master, my mouth is wholly incapable of saying whom you are like." Jesus said, "I am not your master. Because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated from the bubbling spring which I have measured out." And he took him and withdrew and told him 3 things. When Thomas returned to his companions, they asked him, "What did Jesus say to you?" Thomas said to them, "If I tell you one of the things which he told me, you will pick up stones and throw them at me. A fire will come out of the stones and burn you up." I think this is an allusion to how important Thomas is and how jealous they are. We don't know what he told him, but obviously Thomas had some special insight. He was his twin brother. Number 14, Jesus said to them, "If you fast, you will give rise to sin for yourselves. And if you pray, you will be condemned. And if you give alms, you will do harm to your spirit. When you go into any land and walk about in the districts, if they receive you and eat what they set forth before you and heal the sick among them, for what goes into your mouth will not defile you, but that which issues from your mouth, it is that which will defile you." I think this is very clear. Basically, he's telling them as they go about, after he's gone, they travel to different countries. When in Rome, do as the Romans. If they offer you pork, eat it. It's not going to defile you. What comes out of your mouth, what you say, is what will defile you. And of course, healing. What more do you need to know? Healing. He's telling his apostles, go out and heal. Let them know who you are by healing them. They will come to you and they will listen to you because they will be impressed by what you can do. Also, this is important, this "I am not your master." It's kind of, I feel a similar feeling when I share information and it's overwhelming and people become overwhelmed and they prostrate themselves, for lack of a better word. Okay. Now, this concept of Jesus not being a master, it's because we don't have masters. We only have one master, of course, that's Jesus. But the teachers can be students and the students are teachers. We take turns. You don't choose a master, and this is not Kung Fu. You don't latch upon a master and that is your focus forever. It's not a healthy way to go. So I have no problem mentoring, but I don't believe in this master thing. Master Reiki, that's different. Number 15, Jesus said, "When you see one who was not born of woman, prostrate yourselves on your faces and worship him. That one is your father." I'm not going to go too far into that because we could go in lots of different directions. But I think it's still important. Number 16, Jesus said, "Men think perhaps that it is peace which I have come to cast upon the world. They do not know that it is dissension which I have come to cast upon the earth. Fire, sword, and war. For there will be 5 in a house. 3 will be against 2, and 2 against 3. The father against the son against the father, and they will stand solitary. Sound familiar? I think it should. And yes, we're not here to bring peace. We're here to bring fire. And that doesn't mean mob violence. That means a complete washing away of the status quo. Number 17, Jesus said, I shall give you what no eye has seen and no ear has heard and no hand has touched and what has never occurred to the human mind. Let's leave it at that. Number 18, the disciples said to Jesus, tell us how our end will be. Jesus said, have you discovered then the beginning that you look for the end? For where the beginning is, there will be the end. Blessed is he who will take his place in the beginning. He will know the end and will not experience death. Once again, know your purpose. Know why you came here. Know why you came here. Then you'll know that you're not going to die until you're done doing what you came here to do. Number 19, Jesus said, blessed is he who came into being before he came into being. If you become my disciples and listen to my words, these stones will minister to you. For there are 5 trees for you in paradise, which remain undisturbed summer and winter, and whose leaves do not fall. Whoever becomes acquainted with them will not experience death. Again, I think this is a very veiled reference to the densities. When you realize that the stones are first level density entities, they can minister to you. Number 20, the disciples said to Jesus, tell us what the kingdom of heaven is like. He said to them, it is like a mustard seed. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it falls on tilled soil, it produces a great plant and becomes a shelter for birds in the sky. Mary said to Jesus, whom are your disciples like? He said, they are like children who have settled in a field which is not theirs. When the owner of the field comes, they will say, let us have our field back. They will undress in their presence in order to let them have back their field and give it back to them. Therefore I say, if the owner of a house knows that a thief is coming, he will begin his vigil before he comes and will not let him dig through into his house of his domain to carry away his goods. You then be on your guard against the world. Arm yourselves with great strength, lest the robbers find a way to come to you, for the difficulty which you expect will materialize. Let there be among you a man of understanding. When the grain ripened, he came quickly with his sickle in his hand and reaped it. Whoever has ears, let him hear. 22. Jesus saw infants being suckled. He said to his disciples, these infants being suckled are like those who enter the kingdom. They said to him, shall we then as children enter the kingdom? Jesus said to them, when you make the two one, when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, and the above like the below, when you make the male and the female one and the same, so that the male not be male, nor the female, and when you fashion eyes in the place of an eye, and a hand in the place of a hand, and a foot in the place of a foot, and a likeness in the place of a likeness, then you will enter the kingdom. Well, that gives you an idea of how much work you've got to do. 23, Jesus said, I shall choose you 1 out of 1,000, and 2 out of 10,000, and they shall stand as a single one. That's us. Number 24, his disciples said to him, show us the place where you are, since it is necessary for us to seek it. He said to them, whoever has ears, let him hear. There is light within a man of light, and he lights up the whole world. If he does not shine, he is darkness. Well, that's obviously a lesson to all of us. We have to be that light. When you have that light, you are that light, you will have them attracted to you. They will see. You will dispel darkness. Number 25, Jesus said, love your brother like your soul. Guard him like the pupil of your eye. This is another reference to the fact that we're all the same person. The eye reference is interesting because he talks about this in another one. Number 26, Jesus said, you see the mote in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. When you cast the beam out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to cast the mote from your brother's eye. Now, this is interesting because the words are a little dated, but a mote is a speck of dust, grain of something, a speck of dirt. A beam, of course, is a reference to a splinter, almost more like a branch. So in other words, before you can tell your brother that there is a speck of dirt in his eye, you need to first remove the tree branch from your own eye. Jesus also said, number 27, if you do not fast as regards the world, you will not find the kingdom. If you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. 28, Jesus said, I took my place in the midst of the world, and I appeared to them in flesh. I found all of them intoxicated. I found none of them thirsty. And my soul became afflicted for the sons of men, because they are blind in their hearts and do not have sight. For empty they came into the world, and empty too they seek to leave the world. But for the moment they are intoxicated. When they shake off their wine, then they will repent. This is how I feel too. You come and you think the message is all it takes, and then you realize they don't listen. They're blind in their hearts. They have no sight. They're just as empty as when they came into the world. They want to stay empty. They have no desire to grow and become spiritual and wake up and do the right thing. But when they shake off their wine, when they're ready to die, then they're sorry. What do we got to do? We'll repent now. So that is a little bit of frustration right there. Number 29, Jesus said, if the flesh came into being because of the Spirit, it is a wonder. But if the Spirit came into being because of the body, it is a wonder of wonders. Indeed, I am amazed at how this great wealth has made its home in this poverty. He's talking about humans. He's talking about babies and how an innocent child can be born into this corruption. A child of God can manifest. A soul can be brought into the world by human animal reproduction. This is what he's talking about. It's one of the greatest things that humans can do is recreate. But it's important also that we recognize the value and the closeness to God of these children, and we do our best to nurture it and not corrupt it, and learn what we can from those who are fresh from heaven. Number 30, Jesus said, when there are three gods, they are gods. When there are two or one, I am with him. This is a reference to the Trinity and to the top three levels of density, because the top three, of course, as with everything, is the same thing. All densities are the same. They're just higher levels of density, and Jesus is right in there. The Holy Spirit, the number 2 level of the densities, does come up. Jesus talks about it. I love that part. Number 31, Jesus said, no prophet is accepted in his own village. No physician heals those who know him. Boy, don't I know it. Number 32, Jesus said, a city being built on a high mountain and fortified cannot fall, nor can it be hidden. That is us. We operate in the open because we cannot be defeated. We don't need to hide. What are we afraid of? We have nothing to be afraid of. Number 33, Jesus said, preach from your housetops that which you will hear in your ear. For no one lights a lamp and puts it under a bushel, nor does he put it in a hidden place, but rather he sets it up on a lampstand, so everyone who enters and leaves will see its light. In other words, if you know something, make noise. You don't hide it. You don't, oh, I know it. Keep it to yourself. It doesn't do any good if it's not being used by everyone. Number 34, Jesus said, if a blind man leads a blind man, they will both fall into a pit. Self-explanatory. Number 35. Jesus said, it is not possible for anyone to enter the house of a strong man and take it by force unless he binds his hands and then ransack his house. We can apply that to many things, no doubt. 36, Jesus said, do not be concerned from morning until evening and from evening until morning about what you will wear. Number 37, his disciples said, when will you become revealed to us, and when shall we see you? Jesus said, when you disrobe without being ashamed, and you take up your garments and you place them under your feet like little children, and you tread on them, then you will see the Son of the living one, and you will not be afraid. Now, we all have a long way to go. 38, Jesus said, many times you have desired to hear these words, which I am saying to you, and you have no one else to hear them from. There will be days when you will look for me and will not find me. 39, Jesus said, the Pharisees and the scribes have taken the keys of knowledge and hidden them. They themselves have not entered, nor have they allowed to enter those who wish to. You, however, be wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. In other words, you get that knowledge. You do what it takes. You be sneaky. You get it. They're hiding it. We know who they're talking about. That is the enemy, the same enemy. They've hidden this knowledge. Just like this knowledge we're talking about, they've hidden it. Now, you don't need to be a serpent on the outside, but you need to be able to do these things on the inside. You need to be a guerrilla fighter. But on the surface, you need to be a church mouse, a dove. Number 40, Jesus said, a grapevine has been planted outside of the Father, but being unsound, it will be pulled up by its roots and destroyed. And of course, that's a reference to us. Jesus said, number 41, whoever has something in his hand will receive more, and whoever has nothing will be deprived of even the little he has. Number 42, Jesus said, this is the shortest thing recorded that Jesus has ever said, okay? This is the shortest thing. He said, become passers-by. We are transient. We are here for a short period of time. Let it go. Don't be attached. Don't have attachments. We're only here for a little while. We're observers. Don't grab and hold it because we're only here for a while. We pass. 43, his disciples said to him, who are you that you should say these things to us? Jesus said to them, you do not realize who I am from what I say to you? But you have become like the Jews, for they either love the tree and hate its fruit, or love the fruit and hate the tree. Number 44, Jesus said, whoever blasphemes against the Father will be forgiven, and whoever blasphemes against the Son will be forgiven. But whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven, either on heaven or earth. Rambo doesn't mess around. It's not his job. 45, Jesus said, grapes are not harvested from thorns, nor are figs gathered from thistles, for they do not produce fruit. A good man brings forth good from his storehouse. An evil man brings forth evil things from his evil storehouse, which is in his heart, and says evil things. For out of the abundance of the heart he brings forth evil things. Number 46, Jesus said, among those born of woman, from Adam until John the Baptist, there is no one so superior to John the Baptist that his eyes should not be lowered before him. Yet I have said, whichever one of you comes to be a child will be acquainted with the kingdom and will become superior to John. 47. Jesus said, it is impossible for a man to mount 2 horses or stretch 2 bows, and it is impossible for a servant to serve 2 masters. Otherwise, he will honor the one and treat the other contemptuously. No man drinks old wine and immediately desires to drink new wine, and the new wine is not put into old wineskins, lest they burst, nor is old wine put into a new wineskin, lest it spoil it. An old patch is not sewn onto a new garment because it would tear as a result. Well, again, this is a reference to us. We've got to let go of we're going to have to embrace something and not try to embrace 2 things at the same time. It's not going to work. It's all or nothing. Number 48, Jesus said, if 2 make peace with each other in this one house, they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. Kind of important. 49, Jesus said, blessed are the solitary and elect, for you will find the kingdom, for you are from it, and to it you will return. Number 50, Jesus said, if they say to you, where did you come from? Say to them, we came from the light, the place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself and became manifest through their image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children. We are the elect of the living Father. If they ask you, what is the sign of your Father in you? Say to them, it is movement and repose. Kind of a contradiction there, huh? His disciples said to him, when will the repose of the dead come about? And when will the new world come? He said to them, what you look forward to has already come, but you do not recognize it. 52. His disciples said to him, 24 prophets spoke in Israel, and all of them spoke in you. He said to them, you have omitted the one living in your presence and have spoken only of the dead. Even Jesus had to deal with that. His disciples said to him, is circumcision beneficial or not? He said, if it were beneficial, their father would beget them already circumcised from their mother. Rather, the true circumcision in spirit has become completely profitable. 54, Jesus said, blessed are the poor, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. Number 55, Jesus said, whoever does not hate his father and his mother cannot become a disciple to me. And whoever does not hate his brother and sisters and take up his cross in my way will not be worthy of me. Now, I know this sounds bad, but basically what it means is Jesus comes first. Put it quite simply. 56, Jesus said, whoever has come to understand the world has found only a corpse, and whoever has found a corpse is superior to the world. I think we all have started to find the corpse. We smell it. 57, Jesus said, the kingdom of the Father is like a man who had good seed. His enemy came by night and sowed weeds amongst the good seed. The man did not allow them to pull up the weeds. He said to them, I am afraid that if you go intending to pull up the weeds and pull up the wheat along with them, for on the day of the harvest of the weeds, or the wheat, I'm sorry, for on the day of the harvest, the weeds will be plainly visible, and they will be pulled up and burned. In other words, we don't need to worry about all the bad guys scattered about. I know a lot of you talk about infiltrators. You're worried about this and how we're going to deal with it, but don't worry, because they will become obvious in the time of the harvest, and they will easily be removed and separated from the rest and tossed into the fire. Number 59, Jesus said, "Take heed of the living one while you are alive, lest you die and seek to see him and are unable to do so." Jesus is not going to be able to help you after you're dead. You need to take heed now. I forgot. Number 58, Jesus said, "Blessed is the man who has suffered and found life." I know. Number 60, they saw a Samaritan carrying a lamb on his way to Judea. He said to his disciples, "That man is round about the lamb." They said to him, "So that he may kill it and eat it?" He said to them, "While it is alive, he will not eat it, but only when he has killed it, and it has become a corpse." They said to him, "He cannot do so otherwise." He said to them, "You too, look for a place for yourselves within repose or death, lest you become a corpse and be eaten." In other words, go find your grave if you're worried about death, and cover your body so that the animals don't get you. What's important is when you're alive. When you're dead, you're not there anymore. 61, Jesus said, "Two will rest on a bed. One will die, the other will live." Salome said, "Who are you, man, that you have come up on my couch and eaten from my table?" Jesus said to her, "I am he who existed from the undivided. I was given some of the things of my Father." She says, "I am your disciple." He says, "Therefore I say, if he is destroyed, he will be filled with light. But if he is divided, he will be filled with darkness." 62, Jesus said, "It is to those who are worthy of my mysteries that I tell my mysteries. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." In other words, you don't have to let the enemy know what you're thinking. 63, Jesus said, "There was a rich man who had much money. He said, 'I shall put my money to use so that I may sow, reap, plant, and fill my storehouse with produce, with the result that I shall lack nothing.' Such were his intentions. But the same night he died. Let him who has ears hear." Number 64. This is a good one. I like this one. Jesus said, "A man had received visitors, and when he had prepared the dinner, he sent his servant to invite the guests. He went to the first one and said to him, 'My master invites you.' He said, 'I have claims against some merchants. They are coming to me this evening. I must go give them my orders. I asked to be excused from the dinner.' He went to another and said to him, 'My master has invited you.' He said to him, 'I have just bought a house, and I am required for the day. I shall not have any spare time.' He went to another and said to him, 'My master invites you.' He said to him, 'My friend is going to get married, and I am to prepare a banquet. I shall not be able to come. I asked to be excused from the dinner.' He went to another and said to him, 'My master invites you.' He said to him, 'I have just bought a farm, and I am on my way to collect the rent. I shall not be able to come. I asked to be excused.' The servant returned to his master. 'Those whom you invited to dinner have asked to be excused.' The master said to his servant, 'Go outside to the streets and bring back those whom you happen to meet, so that they may dine. Businessmen and merchants will not enter the place of my Father.'" 65. He said, "There was a good man who owned a vineyard. He leased it to a tenant farmer so that they might work it and he might collect the produce from them. He sent his servant so that the tenants might give him the produce of the vineyard. They seized his servant and beat him, all but killing him. The servant went back and told his master. The master said, 'Perhaps he did not recognize them.' He sent another servant. The tenants beat this one as well. Then the owner sent his son, said, perhaps they will show respect to my son, because the tenants knew that it was he who was the heir to the vineyard. They seized and killed him. Let him who has ears hear. 66. Show me the stone which the builders have rejected. That one is the cornerstone. 67. Jesus said, if one who knows the all still feels a personal deficiency, he is completely deficient. 68. Jesus said, blessed are you when you are hated and persecuted. Whenever you have been persecuted, they will find no peace, no place. Jesus said, Jesus said, that which you have will save you if you bring it forth from yourselves. That which you do not have will kill you if you do not have it within you. Jesus said, I shall destroy this house, and no one will be able to build it. Sounds like the Getty. A man said to him, tell my brother to divide my father's possessions with me. He said to him, oh man, who has made me a divider? He turned to his disciples and said to them, I am not a divider, am I? 73. Jesus said, the harvest is great, but the laborers are few. Beseech the Lord, therefore, to send out laborers to the harvest. That's us. We know our mission. We know what we have to do, but our laborers are few. You know, people go, how are we doing? Have we won our battle? Do we have enough people to occupy the Getty yet? You know what? The harvest is great, but the laborers are few. He said, O Lord, there are many around the drinking trough, but there is nothing in the cistern. 75. Jesus said, many are standing at the door, but it is the solitary who will enter the bridal chamber. That's us. 76. Jesus said, the kingdom of the Father is like a merchant who had a consignment of merchandise and who discovered a pearl. That merchant was shrewd. He sold the merchandise and bought the pearl alone for himself. You too, seek his unfailing and enduring treasure where no moth comes near to devour and no worms destroy. That's what this is. Our mission, our truth. It's the treasure. Nothing else matters. This is paradise. This is salvation. Nothing else matters. Jesus said, number 77, it is I who am the light, which is above them all. It is I who am the all. From me did the all come forth, and unto me did the all extend. Spit a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift up a stone, and you will find me there. Again, this is the nature of creation. 78, Jesus said, why have you come out into the desert? To see a reed shaken by the wind? To see a man clothed in fine garments like your kings and your great men? Upon them are the fine garments, and they are unable to discern the truth. I can imagine this is something he might have said to people coming out to see him that thought, who is this guy? 79, a woman from the crowd said to him, blessed are the womb which bore you and the breast which nourished you. He said to her, blessed are those who have heard the word of the Father and have truly kept it, for there will be days when you will say, blessed are the womb which has not conceived and the breast which have not given milk. 80, Jesus said, he who has recognized the world has found the body, but he who has found the body is superior to the world. 81, Jesus said, let him who has grown rich be king, and let him who possesses power renounce it. 82, Jesus said, he who is near me is near fire, and he who is far from me is far from the kingdom. In other words, there's a lot of heat in the kitchen. You stick your head up, they're going to jump on you. But if you seek safety far away from this power, this energy, this controversy, you're lost. 83, Jesus said, the images are manifest to man, but the light in them remains concealed in the image of the light of the Father. He will become manifest, but his image will remain concealed by his light. That's the nature of God. 84, Jesus said, when you see your likeness, you rejoice. But when you see your images, which came into being before you, and which neither die, not become manifest, how much will you have to bear? In other words, when you die and you see who you really are, will you be ready? 85, Jesus said, Adam came into being from a great power and a great wealth, but he did not become worthy of you, for had he been worthy, he would not have experienced death. 86, Jesus said, the foxes have their holes and the birds have their nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head and rest. Well, 87, Jesus said, wretched is the body that is dependent upon a body, and wretched is the soul that is dependent on these two. We are souls living in a body, not bodies living in us with a soul. Jesus said, the angels and prophets will come to you and give you those things you already have, and you too give them those things which you have, and say to yourselves, when will they come and take what is theirs? 89, Jesus said, why do you wash the outside of the cup? Do you not realize that he who made the inside is the same one who made the outside? Jesus said, come unto me, for my yoke is easy and my lordship is mild, and you will find repose for yourselves. Well, there is a yoke, but it's an easy one. You just have to learn to serve others, and it's going to be paradise. What more do you want? 91, Jesus said to them, tell us who you are, so that we may believe in you. He said to them, you read the face of the sky and the earth, but you have not recognized the one who is before you, and you do not know how to read this moment? 92, Jesus said, seek and you will find. Yet, what you asked me about in former times, and which I did not tell you then, now I do desire to tell you, but you do not inquire after it. 93, Jesus said, do not give what is holy to dogs, lest they throw them on the dung heap, and do not throw pearls to swine, lest they walk on them and turn on you. Jesus said, number 94, Jesus said, he who seeks will find, and he who knocks will be let in. You got to have the desire. You got to make the effort. 95, Jesus said, if you have money, do not lend it at interest, but give it to one from whom you will not get it back. Obviously, that's very much the same as our Reiki principle. Serve others without expectation of compensation. 96, Jesus said, the kingdom of the Father is like a certain woman. She took a little leaven, concealed it in the dough, and made it into large loaves. Let him who has ears hear. 97, Jesus said, the kingdom of the Father, 98, Jesus said, the kingdom of the Father is like a certain man. Wait a minute, no, 97, the kingdom of the Father is like a certain woman who was carrying a jar full of meal. While she was walking on the road some distance from home, the handle of the jar broke and the meal emptied out behind her on the road. She did not realize that she had noticed no accident. When she reached her house, she set the jar down and found it empty. 98, Jesus said, the kingdom of the Father is like a certain man who wanted to kill a powerful man. In his own house, he drew his sword and stuck it into a wall in order to find out whether his hand could carry through. Then he slew the powerful man. 99, the disciples said to him, your brothers and your mother are standing outside. He said to them, those here who do the will of my Father are my brothers and my mother. It is they who will enter the kingdom of the Father. So right away, boom, Jesus had brothers. 100, you've all heard this one. They showed Jesus a gold coin. He said to him, Caesar's men demand taxes from us. He said to them, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, give God what belongs to God, and give me what is mine. 101, Jesus said, whoever does not hate his father and his mother as I do cannot become a disciple to me, and whoever does not love his father and mother as I do cannot become a disciple to me. For my mother, but my true mother, gave me life. 102, Jesus said, Woe to the Pharisees, for they are like a dog sleeping in the manger of an oxen, for neither does he eat, nor does he allow the oxen to eat. Jesus said, 103, the fortunate is the man who knows where the brigands will enter, so that he may get up, muster his domain, and arm himself before they invade. 104, they said to Jesus, Come, let us pray today, and let us fast. Jesus said, What is the sin that I have committed, or wherein have I been defeated? But when a bridegroom leaves the bridal chamber, then let them fast and pray. 105, Jesus said, He who knows the father and the mother will be called the son of a harlot. I think that's a reference to Mary Magdalene. Jesus said, when you make the two one, you will become the sons of man. And when you say, mountain, move away, it will move away. Again, this is redundant. Jesus said, the kingdom is like a shepherd who had 100 sheep. One of them, the largest, went astray. He left the 99 sheep and looked for that one until he found it. When he had gone to such trouble, he said to the sheep, I care for you more than the 99. Trust me, we're getting down there. 108, Jesus said, He who will drink from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become he, and the things that are hidden will be revealed to him. This is listening to the words. Not 109, Jesus said, the kingdom is like a man who had hidden treasure in his field without knowing it, who had a treasure hidden in his field without knowing it. And after he died, left the field to his son. The son did not know about the treasure. He inherited the field and sold it. And the one who bought it went plowing and found the treasure. He began to lend money at interest to whomever he wished. So find that treasure, look for it. 110, Jesus said, whoever finds the world and becomes rich, let him renounce the world. 111, Jesus said, the heavens and the earth will be rolled up in your presence, and the one who lives from the living one will not see death. Does not Jesus say whoever finds himself is superior to the world? 112, Jesus said, woe to the flesh that depends on the soul, and woe to the soul that depends on the flesh. 113, his disciples said to him, when will the kingdom come? Jesus said, it will not come by waiting for it. It will not be a matter of saying, here it is, or there it is. Rather, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it. And finally, number 114, Simon Peter said to him, let Mary leave us, for women are not worthy of life. Jesus said, I myself shall lead her in order to make her male, so that she too may become a living spirit resembling you males. For every woman who will make herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven. And again, this is showing us that these gender roles and these concepts of gender equality or one being better than the other are false. There is no sex. In the higher levels of density, this will go away. Identity will eventually go away. When we live our lives, when we are reincarnated, whether we become male or female, is random. We have male and female energy in us in different levels. It's not a problem. And also, I think this is another great reference to how the apostles were jealous of Christ's love for Mary Magdalene and the very real possibility that he was actually married to her. And I think that when they became the ones in power, the ones to decide how the religion would be treated, they were the ones who decided what was accurate and what was heretical. So clearly we see in the Gospel of Thomas here that Jesus showed a certain frustration with the earth, with humans, and at the same time he came to wipe out the status quo. I think there's a lot of lessons here, and I also think that it shows us how powerful we are as individuals, how we do not need masters, and certainly this could have been a problem with the Catholic Church. The fact that We all have God's creative power inside of us. I think this was also a problem. So certainly this gospel is important, and hopefully you enjoyed this. I heard about it a long time ago, and one of the greatest takeaways I got from it was the power of truth and the power and responsibility of what happens when we find it and what we should do with it. And also this reference to Mary Magdalene and this distaste that Jesus had for this patriarchal, elitist thinking, I think is pretty evident. And the fact that even Jesus had to deal with the reality that in his humanity, even his disciples, the humans that were closest to him, could not see who he was, could not see what he was. And when you see that, why are you asking questions? He didn't need to tell you. If you did not see it, you were not worthy. If you were trying to ride two horses, if you were trying to live in this world and not embrace what he brought to this world, you do not get to the kingdom. So not everyone is going to make it. Many will fail. That's just the way it is. But at the same time, as he says, we need to cast those seeds, even though we know that many of them will fall on the rocks and be eaten and never produce fruit. The ones that do are going to produce more than enough. So you got to get to work. There's nothing else more important. All right, I see that we have quite a few people listening tonight. That's encouraging. I suppose you're curious about the content. Obviously, I think it's important, even if it's not technically Getty. Really, it seems like anything we do anymore is important. Tons and tons of people from the UK because they all show up. Oh, we have an unknown here. Who's this? Yeah, well, at least it's not like when I was talking about suing Google and I had that Google listener. Yes, the event coming in November is a big deal. And I understand that there's a lot of people that can't even begin to pay for something like this. I just realized myself how bad it was. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but I paid for my room today. And of course there was, taxes and extra things they tack on. I'm staying for 4 days, and I'm going to get extended stay on the last day because I need to just for driving, etc. But it was a lot. It was almost $700, something like that, $650, possibly some more eventually. So I can certainly see how bad it is for someone else. Of course, that expense does pay for 2 people. So if you're 2 people, it's not so bad. And I think you could probably save some money maybe at another, if you stayed at a Motel 6 or something instead of the hotel. But obviously, I would prefer that you stayed where the event is going on. And of course, I don't pay to attend the event. And I forgot that you guys have to pay, which is unfortunate because that's what David does to make money. And I don't talk about the other people because as far as I'm concerned, this is about us and our opportunity to get together and celebrate this. As far as I'm concerned, this is the Truth Cat Radio Occupy the Getty Jedi convention. And those other people are just taking up space at our convention. But I know a lot of you want to see the live stream. Now, I myself expect that I'm going to be speaking at least 3 times, possibly an hour each time. So whether or not that's worth watching a live stream, I myself, obviously, David would like everybody to get it. And if you can afford it, certainly. But I will have a DVD of every time I get up there. And I will put that up on some media, probably YouTube. But of course, if you can be there live, it's going to be a lot better because the energy will be better. You can see me. I can see you. We can talk. You'll be in the same room. It's going to be that'll just be a lot better. I know Ruth, she was talking about trying to save up some money and surprise me and coming out there with Joe. And I'm like, And I thought, you only got to come up with $700 for the room. I thought, you can do that. And I thought, wait, you got to travel. Yeah, that's expensive. And you got to pay for the event itself. Yeah, that's going to add up to a whole lot. But, I'm not going to be around forever, guys. It's kind of like Jesus here in the Gospel of Thomas saying, I'm standing right in front of you. Don't you see me standing here? It's like, well, when I'm dead, who cares? kind of a thing, you know? So we do have to take advantage of this, and it is a sacrifice for me. I mean, my God, it's like, yeah, that's money. Of course, this is money that I depend on you guys to donate, and I hate to say, but all that money that you guys donated to me, that's how I paid for it. And no, I don't have anything left over to buy me new shoes or hell, body armor. You know how much body armor costs? Yeah. Anyway, I used to have some good body armor. Anyway, I'm not too worried about that, but I've already made my protective. I'll do what I can to keep myself protected while I'm there, and probably spend a lot of time in my hotel room or having eats with you guys. But I hope you guys won't wait till the last second. I hope you'll find the money, find a way, and get there somehow, so we can all break bread and rub elbows and all that fun stuff. Because certainly just having you there is going to prop me up and make me happy, and show me that I'm not alone, and that I have support. I have my people there, and I'm not surrounded by a bunch of gambling, greedy Las Vegas who know what's. Okay? I mean, it's kind of embarrassing when I'm saying, yeah, we're having our convention. It's at a casino. Hey, it's just the way it is, okay? That's where they have the conventions, and that's where these events are. And unfortunately, it takes a location like that to get people to actually show up centrally when they're coming from far and wide. So all I can hope is that you will do it. And yeah, it's like $115 a room, a night for the room, $89 on Sunday, and that price is locked in. So you can get it. I was afraid that they were going to run out of them, and I know that there's a certain tower what they were trying to stick us, and I know Cynthia, you got the last ticket, but by gosh, I hope you guys, you know what, borrow money, okay? Sell some jewelry, do what you got. Well, don't sell your jewelry, but you know what I'm saying. Don't steal it, but get out there, okay? Come on. And if you can't get out there, well, you could maybe help me, because I'm thinking, well, we got like a month or however many days. We're counting down the days now to get out there. And like I said, I dumped most of my war chest into just paying for my room and everything. And after they charged taxes and everything, it really kind of got to me. So I'm assuming I'll get a few more bucks between now and then to help me eat and that kind of a thing. Let's see what else. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to buy a new shirt or something, but hell, I'm going to wear the same thing I wear all the time. You're not going to see me walking around with a new whatever. If anything, I'll get myself some new combat boots, but those are only like $26. Okay, that's what I wear. That and slippers or flip-flops. Okay, enough of the show. One thing I do want to throw out there real quick, just to get back to the Thomas thing. I don't really want to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about more fun stuff. But when these documents were dug up by this grave robber, supposedly there's a lot of funny legends around the story, and we're led to believe that it was a grave robbery as opposed to some random find in a field, because he talks about a bed of charcoal, a corpse, and a jinn. A jinn, of course, being a genie or a demon. Now, I suspect that the bed of charcoal was probably reference to the grave, and the corpse, of course, was the reference to the body that he was stealing the scrolls from, the papyrus. And the jinn, I don't know. But it's also said that his wife, the woman that this peasant was connected to, actually burned one of the documents for who knows what reason, possibly because she felt it was cursed because of some sort of reference to a jinn or a demon, who knows what. But she supposedly destroyed it. What it was, we'll never know. But it's interesting that even this Gospel of Peter, that's just called a heretical text, was also found at the same time. Very bizarre. Anyway, looks like we've already gone 2 hours, so I don't think it's necessary for me to waste much more time. But if you have not joined my Telegram group, please do. And of course, you've got to join Telegram. Just find it, join it, get it on your browser, your desktop, and then search out Occupy Getty / Stephen D. Kelley. Also, of course, like I said, the PayPal has changed and the old one is completely gone. So if you sent money to it, I don't know if it went through or what, but if it's still working and I just don't have access to it, which is a good possibility, anything you send is going to go to someone else. So it's important that if you are going to donate, and I hope you will, I hope you keep doing it because somebody's got to, just to keep me alive, and that is Stephen Kelley 714 at yahoo.com. No longer Gmail. It's now Yahoo. And Stephen Kelley, of course, StevenKelley 714 at yahoo.com. And of course, the email, which is where you need to be writing your correspondence, not the other, is law17gun at AOL. LAW17GUN at AOL. And of course, if you want a free copy of the book, go there. If you want healing, and I'm all completely serious, send me an email and make sure you include a photograph of your face or the person that's getting the healing. Make sure I have permission for whoever's getting healed and tell me what it is that you need healing for. Let's see what else. Also, if you're interested in becoming a Jedi and helping us in our fight in the astral, please contact me there and I will send you a brief outline of what's involved. And I hope that you will take it upon yourself to do the work and do the studying and the research and go to my YouTube pages and watch the pertinent videos, especially the Jedi 101 series is useful. There's so much there that it really doesn't serve anyone if you don't look. You know, the light's already there. It's right in front of your face. You got to look for it. So what else? That should do it. I hope you enjoyed the show. I mean, there's quite a few of you listening, so I guess that's a winner. We'll talk next time. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you before I go? Just try to go to the show, okay? Book your tickets as quick as you can and sacrifice, okay? And if you know, and I'm not stressing about expenses, but some of you have really put out and donated significant amounts, and that's a big deal. It means a lot, and it's all important, and I don't belittle anything. And if I don't say thank you enough, it's only because my mind, you know, I can't ride two horses, you know, I'm kind of focused on the mission. But at the same time, I am dependent on you, you know, I don't have a foxhole or a nest in the tree. You guys have got to help me out, okay? I'm not a businessman, okay? Businessmen don't get into heaven, and I don't have time to do business. So that means no bank account, nothing. I'm completely dependent on your donations, okay? I can't sell stuff. Help me out. All right, thanks a lot. I'll see you guys next week. It's really all I can say is I hope it affects you like it affects me, because this stuff is important. My name is Stephen Kelley, Stephen D. Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. We are Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio. It is now 7:56 p.m., October 7th, 2021. I'll see you guys next week. If you want to talk to me, join the the Telegram group. Until then, good night, God bless, adios, and goodbye.